Live from the backstretch at historic Saratoga Race Course, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America is brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. When you can't make it to the track, make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Also brought to you by Wizard Race and Sports.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Friday morning, a gorgeous Saturday morning. As always, it's fun to be here in front of Clare Court. We've got some horses working out behind us. We've watched over by the 7 furlong shoot some schoolers this morning. Of course, the Jim Bond horses and Jim himself and company have been going back and forth. Always great to be up here and enjoying a Saratoga morning, and this is a really good one. In fact, good because the show today, a lot of fun. They're in the green room. I see them now, Howard Kravets and Matt Miller. Howard with the HHH Racing Podcast. Matt is a semi-regular on the podcast, but Matt also the BCBC winner from a few years ago, has recently written a book, A Better Way of Thinking, that kind of talks about, handicapping and gives you some ideas of maybe honing your handicapping and betting skills. So we'll talk about that, the podcast and more, maybe do a little handicapping with Howard and Matt. Hopefully, keep our fingers crossed. I ran into Jason Worth yesterday, of course, World Series winner and winner also of the Belmont Stakes in the Haskell with Dornock. He's got one in the opener tomorrow as well. He had one that ran yesterday. But he said he was going to try to make it over. He had a couple other commitments. He hoped to make it over. So maybe at the end of the show, we'll plug him in. As I say, we'll keep our fingers crossed there. But we don't have to keep our fingers crossed because sitting right next to me, it's our friend Nick Hahn, co-host of the Off to the Races radio show with our friend Frank Vespi, based down in the Mid-Atlantic. Frank, of course, with the RacingBiz.com, covering Mid-Atlantic racing. Frank and Nick with the radio show cover some Mid-Atlantic, but go beyond. I've been a guest there on some of our visits to Gulfstream, proving some boots on the ground talk on big race days when we've covered Gulfstream. Nick, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Happy to be here. Great Friday morning. Cool. Always love coming up here. My favorite place to come in the summer. Love to take a dip into Lake George. Love to play basketball down at the Y. They missed you this morning, but they'll sharpen up the elbows for you on Monday.
Yeah, you said you were going to come into town and play. I said, geez, this time of year I can only get over there on Monday mornings because it's Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And obviously I'm in here, but I'm glad to know you were over there playing, saying hello. And the fun thing about that, being in Saratoga, there's like a group of guys that talk about horse racing whenever I go in there. There are a couple of guys who own. And so that when you're in Saratoga, no matter where you go, you're going to run into some horse racing conversation.
That's the great thing about this place. Small town. I grew up in a small town in Virginia, and it just reminds me of that place, except it has a 150-year-old racetrack. That is probably the best in the world when it comes to racing atmosphere.
And you got into town. I ran into you at the track yesterday. How'd the day go for you yesterday?
I tell you what, I had a really good day. Came in, hit the double with some price horses, had some friends that came up with us. They did the Spa 250 to get the account wagering going and stuff. A little tougher day for Alan and Sonia, who was up here with us, but they're going to regroup. We're going to go up, ride the mini Ha-Ha today, refocus, come back Sunday or Saturday with a real flurry. So
Excellent.
We're studying. We're going to be ready.
I like that. A little Lake George, a little break, and then regroup. I like that. That's a nice few days up here. Racetrack, little Lake George, back to the track. Tomorrow I asked you whether you're doing the radio show from up here. You said you are. Yep. Tout the radio show a little bit. As I said, I've been on with you and Frank. Frank's reached out to me a couple of times, most recently when we were down at Gulfstream for the Fountain of Youth this year, and given some thoughts on big race days there. But talk about what you cover on the Off to the Races radio show and where people can find it.
Well, it's Off to the Races. We're 10 to noon during the live meet. We do 2 hours at Colonial Downs. They just started their third weekend of racing Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Had a little bit of a late start yesterday. Today, first race post time 4:30. Our big weekend is going to be coming up here in a couple of weeks with the Secretariat Stakes, the Million, the Beverly D, the races that were imported from Arlington Park. We'll have Phil Schoenthal on the show. He won a stakes race last week. We'll have Jason Beam on the show. Good thing about yesterday is we had a number of local trainers. I mean, Colonial, with their $600,000 and $700,000 average daily purses, has attracted the Shug McGahees, and some national trainers. But yesterday, the locals kind of ruled. Karen Dennehy-Godsey getting a win, Susan Cooney getting a win, Ferris Allen getting a win. You know, these are trainers that have been a part of Colonial Downs for a long time. Of course, it's a lot of turf racing. About 80% of the races are on the turf. And with the steeplechase, there's a little bond between Colonial and Saratoga with the steeplechase racing, and that'll be coming back. They race on Thursdays a little bit earlier, 11:45. They actually have a steeplechase pick 3, which is fun.
Yeah.
You know, first one paid, I think, $181 or something. Actually paid $321. We'll have Graham Waters on the show tomorrow, steeplechase rider. We almost had a steeplechase rider sweep the jump pick 3. So that was that would have been fun. He finished second in the last race. But,
they run 3. I love the jump races. They're running 3 down there on Thursdays. And as you say, it ties in a little bit here as a lot of the connections trainers and jockeys are up here on Wednesdays, and then the race ends, and then boom, they're headed right back to Colonial. You got to feel for them a little bit on the travel. But I think they're just happy to have the Colonial be so generous with the steeplechase program. A lot of fun. I pulled up a replay going back a couple of weeks ago, and I think you were there on Millions Preview Day. Our friends at West Point won with Integration. I had Graham Motion in the day before. He had some going in the Beverly D preview, but there was a lot of rain down there, so he was going to scratch his from the Beverly D. But Integration certainly took to the course with the rain. And the game plan, it sounds like back to the Million with Integration. That's right. He's at Fair Hill. You saw him here on the replay. He actually took a little bite at the competitor as he went through. It wasn't Firenze fire by any means, but it was kind of fun. This Kendrick Carmouche came back. We did have about 3 to 4 inches of rain. Yeah. So that absolutely, they only kept those stakes races on the turf. This is a horse that last year won the Virginia Derby, comes back, wins this was the Boston, which basically serves as the Secretariat preview. And he's going to come back for the Secretariat Stakes, and he'll be a very popular choice there. Shug likes to run his horses down at Colonial, especially on the turf, some of the lower. He started the career down there and had a good start to the career. So he has been a Colonial runner, certainly. And we were talking yesterday. I had Kendrick on last week, and I pulled up the picture. Ralph Sampson was also there. Kendrick next to Ralph Sampson, and then you had the picture yesterday on your phone of Ralph Sampson in the winner's circle, and that was fun, a fun addition as well. Ralph Sampson, for those who are under 35, may not really know who Ralph Sampson was, but 3-time Player of the Year. The only other collegiate athlete to do that was Bill Walton, and he came to Colonial Downs on that first Saturday. He's going to come back for the Secretariat Stakes. When we were in the winner's circle, it was an interesting story. Integration had to circle around twice because he's used to looking down at people, and he's looking at Big Ralph there at 7'4". He didn't know exactly, if he wanted to go into that winner's circle or not. Eventually, he got in there. But Ralph is a novice. He has a farm up in Harrisonburg. Novice to the game. He's learning it. He's very excited about it. As a Virginia as it really gets. With Ralph. He stayed in school all 4 years there at UVA, and he's really just a great guy. He took every picture, shook every hand of all the fans that were there, and really had a good time. We're really looking forward to having him back. Yeah, for folks who do remember, he was a legend down there in Virginia, and it was fun to see him down at Colonial. And as I say, you and Frank you're based down there in the Mid-Atlantic. This time of year, you're doing a little bit of a focus on Colonial. I think I have a shot at the Colonial grandstand as well. I'd love to get down there. Again, you mentioned it. There are a lot of familiar names down there because of the type of racing and the purses and whatnot. A lot of the New York trainers ship down there, as we saw with Integration for West Point and company as well. Talk a little bit about Colonial as a racetrack. Well, it's a
probably you see there about 10, 12,000 people there on that day of racing. It's located between Richmond and Williamsburg. It's part of the racingbiz.com. That's the website Frank Vespi and I run. We cover the Mid-Atlantic. Frank, of course, does Maryland. Gary Quill does a great job on that. Ted Black and myself covering Virginia. And Colonial is just, it can get a little hot, but there's plenty of air conditioning. You can go inside, outside throughout the day. And there's most of the racing is on the turf. They have that exceptionally wide turf course. The dirt course is very underrated. Trainers love to train on that course in the morning. They're amazed. They hear everything about the turf. When they get there, they sort of talk about the dirt and how well it works. It usually draws some very big fields, especially maiden claiming races, maiden special weight on the turf. For a long time, they were amongst the top 3 tracks in terms of average field size. So the bettors like it, because you do usually get paid. Trying to get through a couple of Saturdays. The first 2 Saturdays were rain impacted, so it kind of hurt the cards a little bit. But we got 9 more Saturdays to catch up, and looking forward to a good those stakes races this weekend. But then we'll come back with very shortly the Beverly D, the Million, and the Secretariat.
You mentioned Jason Beam. He's got the great
He'll
circuit.
be on the show tomorrow.
Tampa in the wintertime, and then Colonial. Doesn't Caitlin do the handicapping there as well?
Absolutely. Caitlin Free does the handicapping. She's known, of course, for Churchill Downs. Jason Beam is a great race caller for that racetrack. Takes a very sharp eye, very sharp mind, and he has both in terms of calling those races there. And he's learned how to do it. He's now 5-6 years there since Colonial opened in 2019, and it's just sort of a small. It's not a grand experience like you have here, and you don't have the culture in the town that you can walk into. But it does have. It's very quaint, and for guys that love the game, it's very fun.
As I say, the racing is fun, and there are familiar names for those of us who play New York racing.
A lot of upside.
Certainly.
A lot of upside with the track.
Yeah.
It's got a very promising future here, at least over the next 5-10 years.
Before we let you go, we talked when you sat down. Jim Dandy thoughts. Jim Dandy, the highlight for tomorrow. I couldn't get past Sierra Leone. I looked around. And I put Fierceness down in the 4th, so I didn't know what to do with Fierceness. I thought Batten Down was a little bit interesting. What are your thoughts tomorrow on the Jim Dandy?
It's kind of a restart of the Triple Crown. It's sort of like the near-miss Triple Crown, even though you have Caesar Gray, who did win the Preakness in the field, meeting the Ohio Derby with Batten Down. And I kind of agree with you. I mean, the winner of this race sort of vindicates themselves to run in the Travers. It's those 3, especially those 3 big horses with Seize the Gray and Sierra Leone and Fierceness. I don't know what to do with Fierceness. You actually have the top 2 by odds favorites for the Kentucky Derby with Sierra Leone and Fierceness there. So horses that probably didn't reach their potential. I tend to agree with you. Sierra Leone is probably the horse I'm going to really sort of key off of. It's a fun short field, but very good field. And with Sierra Leone, I think that's a horse you can sort of single, maybe. That might be one to sort of single in your multi-race bets.
It is a fun race because to me, he's maybe the potential class of the field, but Batten Down on the up and come. Fierceness on any given day can be brilliant. So, and Seize the Gray, as you say, a Triple Crown race winner. So it's an intriguing field tomorrow there. And you will be back at the track after a day on the lake today. So hopefully you'll be refreshed and knocking out of the park. Just remind people one more time, I believe going to the racingbiz.com, folks can link and listen to the show wherever they are, right?
That's right. We air on ESPN Harrisonburg, ESPNRichmond.com. You can listen to it live there, and then we archive all of our shows. And it's mainly focused around the meet at Colonial Downs this time of year. We do obviously cover Monmouth, Saratoga, Del Mar, as well as through portions of the show. And that will be on the racingbiz.com.
Very good. Nick, appreciate the visit. Have some fun up on the lake today and kill them tomorrow, crush them tomorrow at the racetrack. And we appreciate the visit.
Cool today, hot tomorrow.
I like that. All right, we'll take a break. As I say, they are in the green room. Howard Kravets and Matt Miller will join us right after this. Stay tuned.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Racing Across America, live from our Clare Court set on a gorgeous Saratoga Friday morning. If you're thinking about coming up to the track, today it's progressively gotten better. We've had a lot of nice days, with the sunshine, but early on there was a lot of humidity. But today it is a gorgeous Friday, and a fun Friday as well, as we have our friends from the HHH Racing Podcast joining us partially. I mean, Howard Kravets, the host, he's right next to me on the far end. Matt Miller. Matt's kind of, I would say, semi-regular on the podcast as well.
Feels like it. It's been terrific. Thanks.
Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning. Thanks for having us again, Seth. Appreciate it.
Thanks for stopping by. And before we get off to a start here, just talk a little bit about Howard. How long has the podcast been going?
3.5 years now.
And I should have done that at the beginning on this show, because you count them off. I haven't counted. I don't know whether I want to know, but you count how many?
Well, our main show, our flagship show, which is Thursday nights on YouTube at 8 p.m. Eastern, about 351. But we have several different shows now, so we're over 500. I think it's about 560 shows, somewhere around there.
Give us the lineup of not just your show, but now you've added some others as well.
Yeah, so everything is on YouTube. We're also on audio platforms as well. But Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, we have a show called Horsing Around, which is a recap show of the stake races, the bigger stake races from the previous weekend. Wednesdays, our fantastic show with our 20-something young men who do an awesome job. It's called Betting and Boozing, and that's on 8:30 Eastern during the summer, Wednesday nights. We're going to be switching back to 8 p.m. Eastern once the summer's over. And our flagship show, which we call Picks and Ponies, is Thursday, 8 p.m., again on YouTube. Just go to the YouTube search bar and type in HHH Racing Podcast.
I want to jump in and make a point about this show. It's not only a terrific show, it's a live show with a live chat. You feel like you've joined a friend group. When you get on this chat, you can interact with the host, you can interact with the other people chatting. I do think that's one of the parts that makes it special.
It is fun. I've told you guys before, I'm sitting at home all year long, handicapping at night, and I'm sitting at my desk, and I usually play some videos in the background. And when you guys are up, I'm playing the HHH Racing Podcast. It's great background material, and it is fun to read all the comments, and you guys interact with the commenters. It's highly recommended, and the shows are all archived on YouTube as well.
Yes, it's our YouTube channel. We also have a website, hhhracingpodcast.com, and also our shows are on audio platforms as well.
And I think the guys may have a graphic with the website, so love to show that. But I'd also love to show the fact that the graphic with the website has the Power Picks involved as well. So talk a little bit about the Power Picks.
It does. We have a Power Picks tip sheet, very affordable, very profitable. The ROI is currently about $2.20 for the last 3.5 years. And we just started recently because of the meets. We have a Saratoga only Power Picks tip sheet, which people can buy a weekend. And then our wonderful co-host on Bet and Boozin', Noah Maher, who is from the West Coast originally and goes to University of Kentucky, does our Power Picks for Del Mar only. So we have Del Mar only and Saratoga only Power Picks tip sheet. Again, very affordable, very profitable. Check it out on our website.
And I can vouch. I get to look at the Power Picks every week, and you do a great job. But there's also nice information on the page, and it's good just to see where other people are going and thinking as well. So check all of that out. Matt, we'll talk about the book in a second, but I think I sent in a picture of you and Howard at I believe it was the NHC. You guys are both contest players. Matt, you won the BCBC a few years back. Talk a little bit about the contest scene, but I wanted to also talk a little bit about just a few weeks ago. I thought that I didn't realize they did this. I thought the concept was intriguing. An invitational handicapping contest out at Hawthorne. I was kind of watching the coverage of that. That looked like a lot of fun.
So cool. And look, if you read the book, you'll see that the humility is genuine and real. I couldn't have told you under any circumstances how to get invited to something like that. Right. Hawthorne does a phenomenal job. It's lucky for this purpose. It's right in my backyard. I don't have to travel to go to this invitational. A bunch of people do travel in. So it's a who's who. It's a really nicely run tournament, and they seed the pool very well. There are also a couple other smaller tournaments that are being run on the same days. So they make it a super fun time, and it feels like a bit of a mini NHC, I'd say. You're seeing all sorts of people you don't get to see all the time, and it's a really fun environment, and the dinners after are good, and I have nothing but nice things to say.
And I know, Howard, you have Jim Miller. I used to have Jim Miller all the time when I did the weekday show. He's a lot of fun. I know you have him regular on your show. Emily was doing some interviews. Those were a lot of fun to watch. And I think that is archived too, at least on maybe their Twitter feed. But it was an invitational of some of the top contest players in the country. And so I thought all of those interviews, I thought they were all very interesting.
Well, and they, in my opinion, I'll pay you a compliment as well. I think they do a very good job of not just eliciting handicapping content. If they're talking to someone who's better known for being a good bettor, they want to focus on those sorts of questions. So they know their audience, they know their people, and yeah, that's really good evergreen content. It wouldn't really seem like it based on the fact that it's a live tournament, but there's a lot of good stuff to get.
Yeah. And again, Jim Miller and Emily did a great job. And it seemed like reading the comments, that was, everybody gave a thumbs up to that tournament.
Yeah, Hawthorne's a proud sponsor of our podcast. Just want to throw that out there. And we're big supporters of Hawthorne, family-owned track. They're very much about the better. Really, I think 12% is their win play show takeouts, and lowest in the country. They have lower takeouts and other bets as well. And so we appreciate their sponsorship and their support.
You played in the contest too, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Sure
did. And again, you guys are both contest players. I'll have you each give me a little update. Where do you stand this year? Because I think you won something just a few weeks ago, but where do you stand as far as going to the NHC?
So I was fortunate to have a really nice weekend at the Grade 1 Gamble weekend, which was Keeneland in April. I actually qualified twice for the NHC in the same weekend. I finished second on the Friday tournament and seventh in the actual Grade 1 Gamble. So I have 2 entries, fortunately, for the NHC. And then I qualified for the BCBC as well about a month and a half ago in an online tournament. So I have trying to get a second entry because those are $10,000 seats. So I'd love to get
Grady.
I'd love to get a second BCBC, but right now I have 2 NHCs and 1 BCBC. And I know this guy, he's not qualified yet, but I guarantee you it's going to be happening in the next several months for sure.
That's the joke. I'm the guy that supposedly wrote the book on this thing. I'm qualified for nothing.
Literally wrote the book.
And yet, if you do read the book, and this isn't meant to be a direct plug on that, what has happened to my tournament game is that it has become a very well-rounded, holistic experience of betting where the tournament becomes part of the day's betting. And what's happened to me, actually, is I've become a very strong cash player on tournament days. So it is often the case that I'm busting out of a tournament, but hitting something big on the side. That's not great if you want to see your name in neon and be getting cool trophies and things. But financially, it's been nice. But I think if I wanted to be more serious about qualifying, I'd have to tighten up and use cash less as an outlet and kind of force myself more into the tournament format structure and limit myself to that.
You won the BCBC, and what did you take home? Prize money and what you won in it wasn't like $500,000.
560 maybe. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's just
560K.
Well, it's crazy because the difference between that and what the real amount was is on a normal day is the biggest day you've ever had, and in that context, it's a rounding error that you don't even remember. And obviously, the money's incredible. It's great. It's appreciated. It's a memory of a lifetime, and I'm not shy about saying that's been worth more to me.
Can I say, Seth, that the most important part about it, having that around is just the obvious, which is just camaraderie and friendship. That being said, what he's helped with our co-host on the podcast, and not because he comes on the show once in a while, just his wisdom and knowledge about money management and contest play has helped everyone on our podcast and literally hundreds of people, throughout the country, if not more, on how they should play contests and manage money, not necessarily handicapping. And so we are all in debt to Matt for not only, of course, his friendship and support and all that, but for just the advice on contest play. It's just tremendous.
Well, let's get into the book, because I have a graphic up that gives the website and whatnot. The book, A Better Way of Thinking, The Art of Strategic Betting. First of all, what was the impetus for writing the book?
Retirement came early, a little bit unexpected. Wasn't sure what to do, and I'm ruining the first couple pages of the book, but I was always one of these people that said I'm going to write a book one day. Never did a single thing towards that. And yet, when opportunity meets motivation, the joke is I'm not really much of a reader. Pete Fornatel's the editor, and we had some incredibly funny conversations as I'm trying to get off writing a book, and I have no clue what I'm doing. It did go incredibly quickly. These are stories that my buddies are sick of hearing over and over, but it really enabled me to type them out quite quickly. And so the process of generating the content was not that difficult. It was more the getting organized. I just released the other day the audiobook. It's funny, as even in this endeavor, I'm always looking back at what I could have done better. I would say to anybody who's looking to write a book, hardcover, ebook, audiobook. My only regret in this entire process was that I didn't release all three at the same time, because I've been a little slow with the publicity. I don't know how hard to push. Now that it's all out, right? And here's my big plug. It's all out. The audiobook is in my voice. I do think it's, if it's your drive to work, if it's your drive to Saratoga, right, it's, I think, just as helpful, if not more so, than a typical podcast talking about betting and whatnot. Take it in whatever format you want. I'm not a reader much, so the audio for me would be much better. It's been a terrific experience, and what I didn't expect out of this was the rewards that came afterwards. People that are stopping me that I don't know to say, your best bet of the day concept yesterday gave me the best day I ever had. We had yesterday sitting next to us this really nice guy. I don't want to name any names, but really nice guy who says, hey, I know he's a decent bettor. Do you think he'd be willing to answer some questions? My buddies laugh and say, you're not going to be able to shut him up. And sure enough, I must have walked in to go see him 6 times uninvited in little follow-ups to what we talked about. He tells me his best play, I think, was in the 9th race. And he says, what do I do? And this was before the whole day started. I said, look, you've got a budget for this immediately. If this is truly your strongest opinion, 50, 60, whatever percent of your budget, set it aside, play with the rest. If you need to play action bets or multi-race bets to stay interested, that's fine. But when your race shows up, you hit it. This is your best opinion of the day. It can't be when you walk into the racetrack, someone says to you, what do you think is going to happen today? You tell them a correct answer, and when you leave, they say, how'd you do? And you say, I lost everything. And I mean, we've all felt that so many times. And so a lot of this book is designed, and again, I don't want to give away too much of the book, and if I'm going off on too much of a tangent, tell me. But this whole concept in investing of the safe investment pyramid, with your safe investments at the bottom and your really risky ones at the top, I do believe, and I'm making fun of Howard a teeny bit with this because I think he's been cured of this. Most horse players have their pyramid inverted. They've got this big pick 5, this big pick 6 with a lot of their investment. How much money do they have at the bottom for the win bet? Maybe at the next level of the pyramid for the daily double. And so I talked to this guy and said, you got to bet to win. You got to bet doubles into the horse, out of the horse. Play a pick 3, play a pick 5, structure the dollars so that the most dollars are on the safest. And he nailed it. And it was amazing. And his excitement for being able to monetize that opinion was just palpable. And it was it was a long shot. It was a great opinion. This is not what this book is about. I'm not telling you how to pick horses. I'm here to say, hey, here are some ideas of what to do with your picks.
Yeah, what do you want people to come out of the book with?
Being better bettors. Just making fewer mistakes, getting away from poor money management. And a lot of this is common sense. I don't claim to have any kind of advanced knowledge or degree in these areas, but the simple act of, for those of us that play on account, I think the amount of your balance is absolutely critical to how you play. I get sick to my stomach when I see someone post an amazing exacta score of $1,200, and in the top right of their posting, you see the balance of their account is $1,284. That's not what I want to see. That's not what they want to see. It tells me they were on the brink of disaster if that didn't hit. I do believe, and I do make fun of myself to a fair degree about dieting, once things start going poorly, human beings have a way of accelerating that going poorly. So for me, it's all about direction, not velocity necessarily. But when the balance is low, it seems like an inevitability that will be zero. You're almost in a hurry to do that so you can reset it to an amount you're happy with. And I say, no. Take your budget, put it in there, and protect that money like it's real money, because it is. And again, as you skirt with account bankruptcy, it's just going to happen over and over. Make your 1 or 2 deposits a year and nurse that balance. I also make the point at the end of every betting day, I have this somewhat unique practice of I'll take my accounts and, okay, if one account happens to end in .074, I'm betting those $74 that night. I want to turn that into a betting unit for me. Maybe that's $100 or $200, whatever that is for me. But leaving the account at $74 just makes it so easy to pick up the phone the next day and start. If the account was at an even, pick your number, $3,000. Taking your account from $3,000 to $2,975 with a $25 bet, it will make you think twice. I know this sounds so dumb, but that beautiful round balance, just think twice. I'm not telling you don't make the bet, but if it would be just a nice benefit for everyone if they were just forced to think a little extra, just one extra time before making that bet. It saved me a bunch of bad bets. I'm certain of it.
For folks, I always say when we're up here at Saratoga, I think we're getting people who are new to the game who are tuning in. And you did make a great point there at the beginning about if your good opinions at the end of the day, you don't want to get to the end of the day with 5% of your bankroll left. So keep that in mind, folks. If you've handicapped the card and it's like, race 8, I love this horse, make sure you have the love money left at the end of the day. And I want to ask both of you guys, Howard, I'll start with you. You're both contest players. You both play the various types of contests. The NHC is a pick and pray kind of, well, it's a mythical bankroll type of a thing. The BCBC is live money. Howard, do you have a preference?
It's definitely the BCBC. And now I know Matt's answer to that question. We're live money players. It just feels much more like a day at the track, right? I mean, and I absolutely no disrespect to the NHC and, you know, what Mike Gillum accomplished and all previous winners. I mean, it's absolutely amazing to win that contest, and Vegas is an incredible time. However, from a pure gambling and betting standpoint, you rarely go to the track, you know, if you're a pretty, you know, serious player and bet $2 to win place on a horse race. It just doesn't happen. And it takes the creativity away from, you know, trifectas, obviously, doubles, etc. So much more live money and the BCBC, but again, ton of respect for anyone who enjoys the $2 mythicals in the NHC club.
I feel the exact same way. In the same way you can call live money tournament play a skill set, so is mythical. Yeah. And so for me, betting is my strong suit. I've supplemented my weak suits, thankfully, with friends in my life who are better at those things than I am. And so the handicapping side, I think those tournaments play more to handicappers than to bettors. And so for me, I want my full set of tools available. So it's live money for sure. But again, the NHC for me is a must attend. I am one of those people that even if I didn't qualify, I'd still go. It's a great time. So the fact that the format isn't to my ideal liking, I don't care. Look, Naira Bets has contests Saturday. It'll be this coming Saturday. Relatively low entry fee. Those are great contests, and they're great training grounds for the higher value contests. It's the same strategies. It's the same way you play. It's the same targets. You know, again, we're back to concepts in the book, but it's the same with target setting. It's a phenomenal way for a lower dollar value player right? I'm not sure if it was Mike Maloney or someone else who talks about earn the right to bet more. Well, you can do that in contests and Naira Bets. This isn't a plug. It's not a paid advertisement, at least. Those are great contests, so highly recommended.
Yeah, and I'll get your opinion because I've said over the years, folks aren't into contest play yet. I think when you get into contest, I think it helps your handicapping. I think you start to look at races a little bit differently and maybe go for some value. I will totally agree. We had the fun trip out to Vegas a couple of times a few years ago to cover the NHC. And now I'm trying to get out there as a player. I don't get to play as many contests as I like. I missed last year. I think it was one of the last contests online. I missed by like $1.90, which that hurt. But still trying to get out there. It's a lot of fun. It's like I'd say a horse players convention, the NHC. So, but would you agree? I think handicapping, and unfortunately this year with the tote system, they weren't able to bring back the low rollers. I thought the low rollers was a lot of fun up here in previous years, but I do think it kind of helps you hone your handicapping.
No, there's no doubt about it, and it helps you narrow your opinions, number one. And what I really appreciate about the live money, especially, there's a lot of strategy involved, because you have to figure, you want to obviously play your top choices, but again, like Matt said, how do you maximize your value? Is it in the win bet? Is it in the double pool? Is it in the exacta pool? And you don't have that thought process with the NHC. There is strategy there with blocking and whatnot and whacking details, but certainly maximizing your opinions and being strong with your opinions and knowing which race to avoid. Like, for example, I avoid in general the 2-year-old races on the BCBC because they're 2-year-old stuff, and they're very inconsistent. And we saw last year, right, with Fierceness, who's running, of course, tomorrow, who was unbelievable in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And so anyway, it definitely helps you with your handicap. Know about
it. And Matt, I think it was you. There was one of the watching the feed for the Hawthorne Invitational on Twitter. I think it was you, and you were standing next to another handicapper, and it was getting to the end of the contest, and you guys were having a discussion with the host. And it was like a complete it was great to hear the strategy because it was completely different as you guys were approaching the end of the contest.
And I remember the question. I was standing with my friend Chris Larmy. I was asked, okay, if you're in first place right now, what would you do? I wasn't trying to be some kind of a show off or some kind of a big shot. This is serious business, and the person wasn't in first by a ton. I think they had $8,000, and I looked right up at the board. I said I would take all $8,003, put them on the nose of the favorite, and I'd put 10 grand on the side of this other horse that scares me. That would have won the contest, right? Chris ends up, I'm not making fun of Chris in any way. He laughs and says, I don't think I've ever pushed all in a favorite in my life. He had a completely different approach. I don't even remember his pick, so I don't know that he was wrong. But even in that moment, right, when you're asking me for strategy advice or whatnot, it was clear as day what to do, and it would have won the tournament by a wide margin, actually. Right, it's game theory, it's end game theory, and I do think hopefully with this book I'm going to get people to understand it's not just the picking. There's a whole second skill set, and it's a lot of common sense. So it's not super hard, but some of it's unlearning some of the habits from cash betting, and I think Howard was talking about it without using these words. Spot picking. That's what tournaments are, and that's how tournaments have helped my cash game. I've just turned into more of a spot picker. I'll pitter-patter around with low dollars, and then boom, you'll say, what the heck happened here? Right, I was just biding my time. Well, it's the same in tournaments, and it's a healthy way to play in cash. It does help you to manage your bankroll a bit. And
for folks who maybe are now thinking, hey, I might want to jump in and try that NHC or head to the BCBC. How have you qualified, and do you recommend any particular area to go? Like, I know Hawthorne has some live contests to sit there, but horse tourneys, horse players, you can do things online. What's your recommendation if you have something in specifically?
Well, I mean, Hawthorne is fantastic for the NHC, and one of the main reasons is because it's all live bankroll. It's a $500 entry fee, and you can use all of it towards your bankroll. There's no fee to the prize pool.
Oh, wow.
So Hawthorne is fantastic because of that. For the BCBC, there's the pick your prize and mom is fantastic. The Grade 1 Gamble, Jim Goodman. Matt and I cannot say enough good things about Jim Goodman. The Keeneland contests are amazing. I don't know if there's one in particular contest I would recommend, but it depends on your budget, right? I mean, there's $3,000 entry fees, there's $1,000 entry fees, there's $500 entry fees. So whatever people are comfortable with would be the way to go. But I do want to just throw out Jim Goodman's name at Keeneland because he does an unbelievable job.
Well, and I'm going to give a completely unexpected answer to that question. You could qualify for the BCBC today. I don't know what your budget is for going to the track.
Oh, win 10 grand?
So
$56.
Right. Let's just say let's just take a player who comes here with $500. And if you said to them, what would be a good day for you? What would make you happy? Everyone has a different answer. And if the person says $3,500 would be amazing. Okay, making 7 times your money. People have done that before. That's a reasonable goal. That's also a seat to the Grade 1 Gamble. And so by all means, feel free to take your winnings and use that to go. So set a goal of making one of these tournaments. You can buy in to all of them other than the Invitational and other than the NHC. And so win your way in. And my buddy Brad Anderson does it all the time. He's not as concerned about winning the money in the tournament. If he hits something for a few grand, he says, perfect, that pays for my Naira Bets contest entries for the next few weeks, months, whatever.
Horseplayers.com is how I won the BCBC. I played $256. I spent $112, $256 entries in a qualifier to get to the main online, $500 contest, and just happened to win that too. So that just a lot of luck involved.
I just happened to win.
Very, very, very good. And you tipped your cap to the Keeneland contest, and I'll go back to one of your co-hosts on the podcast. I don't think we mentioned Pete Visco and Paul Halloran. Paul, the contest on a Keeneland last year that he won,
the Grade 1 Gamble.
Wasn't it like the noontime cutoff and 11:45? He's like, maybe I'll play in the contest.
He wasn't even going to enter.
There's a great picture of it, and Matt is there as well with myself and Pete and Paul. Go ahead.
He wasn't even going to enter, but he was there in connection with the Cody's Wish story and the book he's writing, and said, okay, I'll take my shot. Called me up and said, hey, I'm looking for an investor. I said, no problem. We worked out a very quick, easy deal. That deal involved him basically calling me the second before the race to say who I'm rooting for. And next thing you know, the guy just hauls off. I mean, he won that contest by a large margin. It was a different buddy of mine, Drew Coatney, that came in second. I felt terrible for him because his total, like me, he is a target setter. His total was good enough to win in most years, and yet a different buddy, thankfully one of our other buddies, just obliterates the contest, and he did it with one entry, which is also, I get into detail on 2 entries versus 1. I do feel 1 is a disadvantage in these contests. Well, not that day. Hats off to him. It was amazing.
That was a great story. And I will also tell Paul, for folks who want to read a nice review of your book, the opening day Saratoga special, Paul wrote, and you can catch that. This is horseracing.com. Our friends at the special archive all of their issues. So it was the July 11th opening day issue. Paul did a nice review of the book as well. We have a few minutes left, but when you sat down, Howard, you said maybe you have some ideas for tomorrow, particularly in the last couple of races. But let's start and go to the last 3 and look at maybe the Jim Dandy as well. I talked about it at the opening of the show. Sierra Leone just looks to maybe have the edge in here class-wise, but I think you can point at the entire field. Batten Down is an up-and-comer. I put Fierceness 4th. I don't know what to do with Fierceness. Seize the Gray is maybe a little bit interesting. What are your thoughts on the Jim Dandy tomorrow?
Well, our podcast, if people are familiar with our podcast, we have some history in Sierra Leone. We had a huge future wager on Sierra Leone to win the Kentucky Derby, and our hearts were absolutely
I
broken.
was going to say, maybe I should
crushed.
So
maybe I should bring this up. Ooh.
you know, he's incredibly talented. We also know he's incredibly goofy. The big advantage here tomorrow, Seth, is just a lot of the horses want to show speed. I mean, he's the only closer in the race. I'm not going to single him in a pick 5 or anything. I just can't do it because he's just too unpredictable. But I think he's clearly the horse to beat. I suppose if Fierceness freaks, he can win, obviously. I think Batten Down's underrated. I actually liked him last time. I think he could stalk. I think Seize the Grade's going. Pony Express is going. Fierceness is going. Man, it should be Sierra Leone's race to lose. But, would you want to take him at even money? I don't know. It's a tough call. Batten Down would be my sort of sneaky horse to use in the race tomorrow.
And again, I don't want to remind you guys having lost by a nose behind Mystic Dan, but remind people what the wager was. Yikes.
We had a $1,000 future bet on Sierra Leone at 150 to 1. So we were alive to $151,000. There were a ton of us in the group.
That was amongst your whole team.
I had a larger percent than everyone else because I made the bet and sort of came up with the horse to start with. But
hey, let's not forget that he then went on to cost me the Belmont contest, which I was in the position to win. And
Sierra Leone, not me.
Sierra Leone.
Okay.
And so I can't. I mean, viewers have been probably watching me with my head down, shaking my head, listening to this banter. This is the hardest pass ever. I am on, for poker players, permanent tilt. I can't see this horse for who he is. If I bet the horse and he wins, it couldn't possibly pay me enough to pay me back. If he loses, I can't believe I bet him again. There's actually, in this book, there is some psychology to the way I look at this. You don't have to bet every race. I will absolutely. It's the best race of the day. I'm going to watch. I'm going to go look at the horse in the paddock. Not $1. Not a multi-race bet that this thing goes. Not $1. I'm done. I'm just a fan at this point. But I am rooting for him. But I
was, we were doing Kentucky Derby Day. I was sitting in the front half of the Clubhouse Racebook, our studios in the back down in Albany, and just interacting with people and talking about the day and whatnot. And then when the race came up, I felt for you because I knew the story, and it's just like that. I was
we were there in person. Myself, Noah Maher, Charlie Freeman, and Kyle Roscoe, all from the Bet and Boozing guys. We were there on the rail at Churchill.
The pictures
I didn't pull that video
up. The pictures are terrible.
Don't watch that show video because that was your heart's gonna be broken. But anyway, it was a lot of fun.
And again, you said you had some thoughts on the last couple tomorrow. The 11th at Saratoga, state bred, non-winners who won at 1 mile and a 16th. What do you see there?
Real quick, the number 4 horse who is 6-1 more line, Gem Mint 10. I will say that I do have partial ownership of this horse. I want to make sure, full disclosure. We just saw him at the barn. Gave him a nice little, pet, and he's all ready to go. Looks very calm and chill. There's not a lot of early speed in that race, and he likes to be forward. He has a great post. I think he's got a big shot if he runs his best. You saw he ran fantastically last year here, and we were here for that, almost won. So Gemman 10 in race 11. My play of the day, though, was race 12.
And I'll just mention, I'm trying to get Matt on the show from Adelphi.
Yes.
And you were in the winner's circle, both of you guys.
Adelphi Racing, fantastic.
Certified lover boy.
Trying to get Matt over to talk a little bit about Panda Gate, who the game plans to come back up here for the Albany after the New York Derby win. 12th and final on Saturday. State bred maidens going 1 mile on the grass. Your thoughts?
The number 8, Princess Summer, is my play of the day at 15-1. There's a lot of things to like about this horse, in my opinion. First race out very quickly, sprinted. That's not what the horse wants to do. Just sort of ran around the track, had a little bit of trouble. It was clear that was a prep for something longer, in my opinion. Last race rained off the turf. That's a complete toss. Now is Michael Maker. We don't need to talk about how good Michael Maker is. Jose Ortiz. It's not the toughest field. If you don't like that horse on top set, at least use underneath in a reverse key or back wheel situation. And a trifecta, which is one of my favorite plays. So those you don't know, that means use the 8 in every spot in your trifecta. I talked about that on the show last year, and the horse that we talked about came in third. So the number 8, Princess Summer, I think it says it's Saez. I can't recall his riding. Michael Maker.
Jose Ortiz.
Sorry, I always mentioned that. Princess Summer, race 8, or horse 8, 15-1 race 12 tomorrow.
Off the claim for Michael Tubbs, so that's a
Yep.
positive as well. I didn't look, but and I think with the record so far, you're going to get your price here.
Yes,
But as you're
his form
talking,
is
I'm
dirtied
kinda-
up.
I'm
Dirtied
kinda-
up form,
yeah.
no doubt about it.
I'm kind of thinking I may have to toss that one in
Okay.
a little bit as well. Matt, just before we break, again, remind us, they'll put the website up again. A Better Way of Thinking, Master the Art of Strategic Betting. Folks have to go to the website to purchase, correct?
We got something for you also, and we have two
Okay.
gentlemen we could bring on maybe right at the end
Okay,
if we could.
absolutely.
So a betterwayofthinking.com is where you can go to pick up the hardcover. There are links on the site to pick it up on Kindle, on Audible, but it is on other platforms as well. But I just went ahead and made one link for each of those.
Okay.
So it's easiest to get it on the website, and there's some reviews, and we'll probably post this show. I've got, a little media section, all things that never in my life I thought I'd ever get to do or anything like that. And yeah, reception's been terrific. And I'm asking with complete sincerity to listeners, if you read it, I'd love to hear from them. It's been so rewarding. I've enjoyed some of the arguments around I wouldn't do this, I would do that. I don't know that there's winners and losers to those arguments, but I've loved the stories, and I've loved just hearing how this has helped clarify betting thinking. It's not a handicapping book. I leave that to buddies like Howard and Nick Tamro and Pete Fornatel and you. For me, it's much more about the betting and what to do with those picks. I think that's the hard part.
Yeah, there's been some reaction on Twitter, and everybody who's reviewing the book out there is giving it a thumbs up. So check it out. You want to bring the team up, and while we bring the team
and also, which color would you like here? So we have black and we've got gray. Which
I like
one?
the black.
Black. Seth Merrow, officially
Thank
part
you.
of the HHH
Thank you.
Racing Podcast. We got two guys coming up behind me here. We got right behind me is Noah Maher, who writes the Del Mar Power Pick tip sheet, and then Patrick Kunzel. They're both co-hosts on Bet and Boozin', which is Wednesday night.
Yeah, give us
Fantastic
the
guys.
whole lineup when people can find the live versions on YouTube and beyond.
Yeah, again, Monday we're on Monday nights and Thursday nights at 8:00 Eastern, and these guys are on 8:30 Eastern on Wednesday nights. They are co-hosts of Bet and Boozin'. Not only are they great guys, they're excellent handicappers, have a really bright future in this game from a betting standpoint.
And again, all the podcasts are archived on YouTube. I watch live on YouTube. As Matt said, there's the live chat there. That's fun to join in and kind of talk along and add to the conversation. I highly recommend the HHH Racing Podcast. And again, you can check out the website as well. Power picks are always some. Yeah, so during Saratoga, they're every day?
We have the power picks are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay. But
Friday,
they're
Saturday,
but
Sunday.
Normally during the rest of the year, it's Saturday.
Saturday
But it's
only is
extended
our
during
regular
Saturday.
standard power picks that I always write, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Del Mar and Saratoga. And we various people write this.
Excellent. All right. It's the team from the HHH Racing Podcasts. Appreciate it. And joined today by the man behind the dynasty, Howard Kravets, Matt Miller, again, BCBC winner, and with the new book out, A Better Way of Thinking. So check it all out, guys. Appreciate the visit.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you
Seth.
so
Thanks
much.
for having us on.
Thank you.
All right. We'll wrap it up for this Friday edition of Racing Across America. Let me just remind you quickly again, it's a Fan Appreciation Day at the Broadway Lanes Easy Bet. Give us our chance to say thank you to you by swinging by the Broadway Lanes Easy Bet. Also down at the Clubhouse Racebook, a $100 knockout challenge. Stop by for some extra fun. Tomorrow it's the King of the Hill contest at the Clubhouse Racebook. New contest. I think it's been popular the first couple of weeks. So that's tomorrow. Tomorrow also the Bounty Bet up here at Saratoga. Play the late pick 5, the final pick 5 tomorrow with your Capital OTB bet account, and you're in for a shot at the Bounty. And don't forget, I'll have the $150 pick 3 bankroll on Sunday. You can enter today to get your chance to be on the pick 3 bankroll team. We'll open up probably about an hour or so. We'll open up the entries at capitalotb.com. So check that out as well. All right. Great day of racing. Come on up. If you want to enjoy racing down at the Clubhouse Racebook, that's 711 Central Avenue in Albany. But as I say, it's a gorgeous day up here with a really nice card. So looking forward to it. Hopefully you are too. We're also looking forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be fun. Racing Across America. Kenny McPeak is going to jump on, and Brian Hernandez. So that should be fun for tomorrow, Racing Across America. But handicapper support at 9, Racing Across America at 10. We'll see you then.
Why just watch the races when you can be in the middle of the action? For nearly 20 years, Bonaventure Stables' share-based ownership program has made thoroughbred ownership affordable for the everyday fan. Ownerships of 5 and 10% are now available on a nice selection of horses. As a partial owner with Bonaventure Stables, you'll enjoy all the benefits afforded every owner. Visit with your horse in the private stable area. Greet the trainers and jockeys in the paddock. And when your horse wins, savor the moment in the winner's circle at Saratoga, Belmont, Aqueduct, or wherever you bring home the prize. Based in historic Saratoga Springs, Bonaventure Stables has been training winners and creating memories since 2005. Learn more, see available horses, and meet our team at bonaventurestables.com.
Turn your love of racing into savings with equine discounts through the NTRA. Purchase through equine discounts and receive great savings on well-known brands like John Deere, Sherwin-Williams, Big Ass Fans, Farmers Insurance, and Office Depot. Join thousands of other equine members and support companies that give back to the sport we all love. Call 866-678-4289 or visit equinediscounts.com to start saving today.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
You've been watching Racing Across America. Racing Across America has been brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. When you can't make it to the track, make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Also brought to you by Wizard Race and Sports.